The question is building trust while creating the education around local, what local is, and not disenfranchising people who thought they knew what local is, and now, it's hard to keep up with the latest ego thing. Are you doing the right thing? Or yesterday it was right, and now you're a monster. So how to educate without disenfranchising people. And I think, in my experience, a lot of people are starting from scratch, basically, from the very beginning. Like Debbie, and her business was started by a group of local mothers, correct? I mean, maybe I'm making stuff up. But a group of local mothers who wanted to have sustainable goods for their families, and so they created a business around that. And then, from the farmers' end, like I was saying earlier, there are farmers in this county who've been doing organic food for 30, 40 years now. And so it's just a matter of them building on the inertia of new farmers coming in and reaching out to people on an individual basis, one-on-one, the kind of community building that a lot of people in this room do, which is backbreaking, heartbreaking, really difficult, but on an individual level, that's how, like Debbie was saying, you create the trust. If they know who to go back to, then they know who to complain to if they start feeling like something's not right. So in my experience, it's just been really having to start from the ground, from nothing, and keeping on an individual level, so that it's not just messages and conflicting messages, but people that you go back to and can talk to.
Open government is also creating econometrics for, out of space of, the revenue streams and all that kind of stuff right now for the HUD program, federal HUD program. There's Sustainable Communities program that we get ready to expand in the next 2 years. We're already in the process of coming up with economics for them as well. So actually have a criteria for it.
I think the concept of local is something that we used to know because it was the only thing available. There wasn't enough transportation and there wasn't enough infrastructure to ship things all over the country, and if gas went up to $10 a gallon again, I think we would find out very quickly what something that was local meant. As of right now, I feel like even I don't want to be too nationalistic, but even just American made is a place to start. Which is something that most anyone you talk to, right wing, left wing, whoever, can usually agree that if it's at least made in America, at least we're starting in a good spot. And hopefully they're not pretending that it was made in America, but it's sort of trying to figure out a way to explain to people who may or may not be interested in the environmental aspect, or they may not be interested in some of the sustainability aspects, but at least American made is something that most anybody can sort of grasp as far as what local means. It was made by us for us here, and that's something that I have to explain to people every now and then, and it generally works. But even other products that were made by actual local people, like you mentioned, our local Mexico potatoes. Depending on where you are, maybe Mexico is local. As far as them being in our area, that seems a little strange. So coming up with what it means to be local is something that we have to work to help describe to other folks, because it changes depending on where you are and what local is to you. Thanks.
I've got a question that kind of goes in line with this discussion. There's a number of things that have worked in other areas. Organic is a label that's worked pretty well. You can't label your food organic if it doesn't meet certain criteria. And in the automotive world, there's an EPA label. No automaker is allowed to advertise any fuel economy rating other than what the EPA has labeled. And that's based on some standards. Poor ones, but it's a standard. And now I'm hearing great things about Walmart's going to label other stuff for environmental impact. I mean, do you see anything for local? Is there anything on the pipeline for labeling something local and having some standards there?
I just have a quick comment on the working with Walmart aspect. One issue is that Walmart's business plan overall is not sustainable. So sometimes people say, well, is it good if Walmart has organic food or local food? And yes, it's good, it's better than what they have, but if you're like a local farmer looking to go in to Walmart, then you have to watch out because they are still working on the single bottom line. So that is totally going to depend on how it works out for them financially, and they're not all that really invested in sustainability. But as far as for local products, does anyone, you know, standards for local products? Like as
They've got an interagency team right now. I'm meeting with them 1st of May where they're developing the standards and stuff like that.
So is it going to show like a rating, or is it just a sampling organic?
I'm flying blind pretty much. I'm trying to work with a couple of those agencies right now. I think it's just kind of the initial stage. It's specifically for our project, but since we're involving some of the sustainable communities projects and everything, some of the processes that they've already got pipeline right now, we're hopefully going to be integrating that into our project. And so I know that they're working on some type of standard. So.
Sounds like an iPhone app. You should be able to scan a product.
You got an app for that.
iPhones aren't sustainable.
But there is a local phone app. There's local phone apps. So you can come into an area and see what food's in season, where the farmers market are, and stuff like that. So one thing I'd say we're doing for our cooperative grocery store, and again, learning from the natural food industry, we're defining local as 250 miles. So we just took the definition on ourselves. I mean, you might be 500 miles or whatever. We're trying to get a little bit ahead of the curve. So when we talk about our co-op and we say this is local, it's in 250 miles. So we're trying to get a little bit ahead because as I said, for Harris Teeter, they define local as North America. So we try to scale it down just a little bit more. So, and I think, and again, the thing that blows me away is just complete transparency. A few years ago, I don't know if you're aware of this, is that the food industry was able to keep the government from requiring to label GMOs on your food. I mean, that's just bizarre to me. Why, you know, I'm not here to say GMOs are good or bad. I just want to know if they're in my food or not. And in Europe, I mean, they have to have full disclosure. Whatever's in that product's got to be there. In the U.S., they do not have to disclose a GMO in your food product.
And the same goes for processing. They don't have to tell you if it
Right.
was irradiated, chlorinated,
Right,
whatever.
it's just
It
bizarre.
can be anything. So that's another reason to know, like Debbie's saying, okay, so a single person making soap, they don't have maybe a huge marketing background or as good insurance as a huge company, but you can go to, if you know them, you can talk to them and say, oh, just give me a rash or whatever. You know, if you know your farmer, you know, you can ask them, do you fully pasture feed or do you corn feed at the end, and they'll tell you. So as far as, you know, if you, one step on one aspect would be to have national standards, but another aspect would be to really look into knowing where and who your stuff's coming from, and kind of gauge it on yourself, because there's always problems with